Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey with the JX Fight Club in Shanghai, China. And today I've got a question about taking a hit. I was asked, Ramsey, since you were a professional fighter and you have a lot of experience in this subject, what did you do to condition yourself to take a hit? Because nobody's defense is perfect and eventually something's going to get through. So what do you do to prepare yourself to take that hit? Now, I gave a few suggestions: lift weights, wrestle, do jiu-jitsu, box, take some fighting classes, do what it takes to make your body physically stronger, right? And of course, focus on correct breathing patterns and breathing principles. But he asked me, you're going to get hit sometimes when you breathe out and breathe in. Sometimes it's just going to be a bad hit. So what do you do to condition yourself for that situation? Okay? Well, I got some good news and some bad news. First, let's cover the bad news. Some hits you simply cannot condition yourself for. If you get clipped on the chin hard, okay, this is a lever that turns your head and rattles your brain and stuffs the base of your jaw into the base of the skull and causes all kinds of problems, right? There is no way to condition that. I've seen some guys who would chew on wood and put a string on a mouth guard and lift weights with their jaw and all that. And there's nothing you can do to change the fact that your chin is a lever that's going to torque your head around when you take a hook to it. Okay? So work on your defense. Yeah, I know your defense isn't going to get perfect, but when you got clipped there good, guess what happens? You get knocked out and the fight's over. You got to try again if you can, right? Now, next, what if you take a heavy liver shot? Oh, sorry, my liver's over here. There we go. What if you take a heavy liver shot, right? And you're not breathing right? Well, you're probably going to lose that fight. You're probably going to crumple into a mess on the floor. So protect that at all times. Keep your elbows close to the body. I know you wanted a magic pill. I know you wanted an answer like, well, do these particular exercises and then you'll be indestructible. Okay? Now, there are certain exercises that will help to an extent. Okay? For example, with leg kicks, you're going to take a bunch of damage to your quadricep. There's a big bundle of nerves that comes off the sciatic nerve right there. And if we get hit there, boom, 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 like 3 or 4 times heavy with those round kicks, what's going to happen? Well, our leg's going to go dead, right? Especially if we're not used to that. So I would recommend, spar, do some light contact sparring and get used to taking some kicks in the leg, because to an extent we can condition that, right? We don't want to go crazy right there. And by that I mean, doing full contact sparring without the shin pads to the point where you got giant hematomas, bruises, it's all black and blue right there. And you're going to end up having blood clots or something like that. We don't want to do that. Okay? Train safe, guys. Train safe, train smart. It's very important to train hard, but it's more important to train smart. Okay? As far as body damage, okay? Breathing is the most important thing. You take a hit to the body, breathe, right? When we attack, anytime we throw a punch, what's open right here? I throw that punch, I'm trying as best as I can to cover up my chin with my shoulder. I've got the non-punching hand protecting the face, but there's all this stuff that's exposed. It's possible to counterpunch at any part that's open. So anytime we attack, that is when we are most vulnerable to a counterattack. That's one of the reasons why when we strike, we're going to exhale. You hear me hissing. Or when you throw a heavy kick, right? We're going to exhale from the diaphragm. Why? Because that forces these abdominals to contract, okay? And it collapses the lungs a little bit, okay? So instead of, this big inflated diaphragm popping, it's going to cave a little bit around the strike, okay? So, you don't want to condition your face. You can't condition your face. You can't condition your chin. You're not going to condition your vital organs like your liver. Okay? Now, it is important that you do some full contact sparring. Not a lot. Some. So that you know what getting hit hard feels like. Okay? So it's not a shock to your system, if you will, so you don't go into shock. Now, there are 4 stages of all fights. This is very important to know. Everybody knows fight or flight. There's more. Right? The first one is posturing. Second one, fight. Third, flight. Fourth, submission. What does that mean? Okay, and that doesn't necessarily even go in that order. Posturing, fight, flight, submission. Okay? If you see 2 guys get mad at each other, for example, what do? They puff out their chests, they say angry words, they look angry, they do all of this non-violent aggression to try to get the other person to back off. I'm bigger and scarier and tougher than you, so don't fight me. That's posturing. I mean, we see posturing in street fights, we see it in sport fights as well, like at the weigh-ins, especially in modern MMA. Everybody wants to be the next Conor McGregor and make $1 million, and so they're turning into characters from pro wrestling, basically. It's all posturing, right? All trying to win the fight before the violence actually happens. And along those 4 steps, posturing, fight, flight, and submission, the fight can be won or lost at any step along the way. Okay? So what does that have to do with taking a hit? I don't know. I may have just gone on a crazy tangent there, but it's an important one. All right. Now, our friend asked us about Kyokushin-style training, where these guys, you know, they do full contact kumite, haisa, haisa. They punch each other in the guts, full contact, no punches to the head, but they're throwing kicks to the head, they're throwing kicks to the legs and the body. And again, it's full contact, and how do you condition yourself for that? Well, there's a video. You can see a guy preparing for the 100-man kumite. It's an event that only a handful of fighters have ever accomplished. That's where you do 100 consecutive 3-minute fights under Kyokushin rules, full contact, and try to survive without getting knocked out. You don't have to win every fight, but you have to survive to the bitter end. And these are pretty cool. You can watch some of these on YouTube. Again, a very small number of individuals have accomplished it. And there's a short, like mini documentary of a guy, I think he's from Australia, and he's preparing for a 100-man kumite. And yeah, you can see him doing some karate sparring and all that, but most of what he's doing is lifting weights and physical conditioning. He's doing abdominal exercises. He's doing a lot of abdominal exercises, right? Because we got bones reinforcing most of the body, but we don't have bones down here. Okay, that's why weightlifters wear a weight belt to support this area where we just have the spinal column supporting everything. Okay, so when we fight, obviously we don't have a weight belt, so we've got to support this with muscles. You got to make these strong. Okay, now visible striations here, that doesn't equal strength. I mean, man, in my early 20s, I had a job at a factory where, you know, it was just like lifting 50-pound trays of noodles and dumping them in vats and pushing and pulling things all day. And after 1 year of that job, man, I was ripped. I had striations everywhere, but I wasn't that strong. Okay, I'm a lot stronger now. I can take much, much harder hits now to my abdominal region, to the chest. Boom. Why? Because I'm physically stronger now. How did I do that? Lifting heavy things. Okay, adhering to the basic principles of athletics, wrestling. Man, that's a big thing. But wrestlers don't even punch and kick each other. Yeah, I know. And wrestlers, generally speaking, are a whole lot tougher than people who do practice punching and kicking each other. Why? Because their bodies get stronger, like a lot stronger. Man, if you've never wrestled before, get on the mat and wrestle. I don't care if you know the rules of whatever particular wrestling style. Just try to take your opponent down and pin them on their shoulders so they can't move, right? Spend several rounds a day wrestling, just doing that. Take down, work for the pin. Forget about submissions or anything fancy like that. Just try to take the other guy down and pin him on his shoulders. If you can do that, or at least try to do that a couple times a day, man, you're going to get so much stronger than you would be otherwise. Okay? There's a reason that wrestlers have done so well in mixed martial arts, traditionally speaking, and it's not the technique. Yeah, the technique is important. It helps. I mean, the double leg, the single leg, you know, a bunch of wrestling techniques work really well in MMA. But I'm going to tell you, it's the toughness, both the physical and the mental and the emotional toughness that wrestling instills in athletes that makes them so good at MMA. It makes them unbreakable. Okay? I mentioned before that in every single one of my professional fights, I went in there with an injury. And you are going to take hits because your defense isn't perfect. Like I said in another video, if you get in a knife fight, you're going to get stabbed. If you get in a gun fight, you're going to get shot. If you get in a fist fight, you're going to get punched. Okay, so you get in an MMA fight, you will get punched. You will get hurt. But whether or not you become broken here and here, well, that depends on you. My very first professional kickboxing match, I took a heavy shot to my liver. It was a crippling blow. And my body was screaming at me, just fall down, come on. Just let go and fall down, give up, it's over. I mean, it's worse than getting kicked in the groin. If you've never taken a heavy liver shot, oh man. That's the worst kind of knockout. The liver shot knockout. Man, forget about it. But every part of me wanted to fall down except for my will to continue. I mean, it was the first round and I told myself, I can't give up. I can't give up. I don't care if I lose this match. I will not give up. And somehow I pulled it together. I leaned against the ropes and I weathered this storm and I absorbed a lot of damage. Kept my guard up. Somehow the referee didn't intervene and call it a TKO. But I weathered the storm and I toughed through the round. Got my second win the next round and ultimately ended up losing the decision. But I was proud of myself because I made it to the end of the fight. I remained unbroken mentally, emotionally, even though I was broken physically. Because yeah, in fights you're going to take shots that are going to break you physically. Some of them, yeah, clipped on the jaw like that, you're going to go down, you're going to be doing the fish dance on the ground. Okay? If you get a concussion, you can't condition your brain to take shots. Please don't try. Okay? The more damage that happens up here, the less cumulative damage in the long run you're going to be able to take. That's why I tell all my athletes to limit their hard sparring. Yes, you need to know what it feels like to take a real punch. No, you don't need to know what that feels like over and over and over and over and over and over again. So that's just going to hurt you. That's going to cripple you in the long run. You hear people talking about fighters that have a chin, have a good chin, like, oh, that guy has a good chin. And then you see him get knocked out. And then he gets knocked out again. And then he gets knocked out quicker. And you're like, what happened to his chin? He's got no chin anymore. That's got nothing to do with your chin. That's your brain. That's cumulative brain damage. Right? You get knocked out once. You take a bunch of heavy hits in the gym or in a fight or whatever. You're going to be able to take less and less of those as you go on. So protect your brain. I love what Robbie Lawler said. You know, Robbie Lawler, he's been fighting for like 20 years now. Tough dude. Right? If you watch his last few fights in the UFC, I mean, just amazing displays of aggression. Right? But if you watch him in the gym, he doesn't play like that in the gym. In fact, he gave an interview a while back and he said, I don't even spar anymore. And yes, he puts on heavy headgear and big gloves and goes through some technical movements in the ring with his training partners, but he's not taking heavy hits in the gym. He says, I already know how to fight. I don't need to take heavy hits in the gym where nobody's paying me to do it. You know, I'm saving that for the octagon. Okay, and that's smart. That is why that man has had a 20-year career. And I'll tell you what, my fighting career was a lot shorter than I would have liked it to have been. Okay, and there are a number of reasons for that. And And one of the big ones is the way I trained when I was younger, in my early 20s. Man, I couldn't tell the difference between sparring and a fight. And my training partners didn't either. We went 100%. We thought, well, we got to get used to getting hit. We got to condition ourselves to take hits. And so we took some heavy hits. We bled all over the place in sparring. And what happened? We got hurt. Cumulative brain damage. Man, that adds up over time. You don't want that. Right? So keep most of your sparring light contact. Now, is it good to like stand next to your partner and just exchange blows to the body? Psst, psst. Short answer, no. But you might want to practice breathing techniques, put on some big gloves and kind of tap each other a little bit. Psst. Maybe exchange one and one. I'll give you one. You give me one, so you can practice and time the breathing, so you can practice contracting the abdominals, and again communicate with your partner, because if he's trying to punch through you, if he's trying to break bricks with his fists, you don't want abdominal hernias, right? Protect this. It's the only one you ever get. And the head, man, I can't stress that enough. You might have seen my video on headgear, okay? I'm very opinionated about headgear. I normally don't wear it when sparring unless I'm sparring with elbows, and even then it's light contact. Again, a lot of people take the headgear as license to hit really hard. And what ends up happening, they do more damage in sparring than they actually would in a fight, and that's just stupid. Right? Be smart, guys. If you want a long career, and even if you have no interest in professional fighting, if you just do this as a hobby, make sure it's a hobby you can do into old age. And I'm training a guy right now, a guy named Paul. He's an older gentleman from England, and he's somewhat overweight, and he's in his 50s, and he comes and trains with me every weekend. And after about 3 months of training, I asked him, "Hey, Paul, why do you do this? Why do you do this every weekend?" And he said, "Well, I'm not working under the delusion that I'm going to win a UFC title anytime soon. But what I want to be able to walk in the hills of England when I'm 80. I thought, man, that's smart. That's smart. So what's he doing? Right, he's training his body, trying to become as physically fit as he can for longevity, for life. Right? Now we want to do the same thing as fighters. Train this to be as strong and as flexible and as athletic as possible so that we have longevity in our careers as fighters, but also in life. Because, man, you want quality of life later on too. After you retire, there's more to life. So much more to life after you retire, after you hang up the gloves. Man, there are fighters out there who are messed up because they trained the right way. They trained the wrong way and ended up fighting the wrong way too. Right? Don't let that be you. So what do we do to protect ourselves from hits? Like I said, make this as strong as you possibly can. Lift weights. Why do I recommend lifting weights? One, it makes your muscles stronger, denser. It makes your bones stronger and denser. Okay? It increases your endorphin levels. That's going to increase your tolerance to pain. So if your hang up with taking hits is the pain, endorphins are going to help you work through that. The more you exercise, the more dopamine and serotonin, that's the endorphins, your body will release. And those are natural painkillers. Okay? Second, I recommend wrestle. Even though there's no striking involved, wrestling is such a great sport for physical conditioning. It makes you tough. I mean, if you don't feel tough, get on the mat and wrestle consistently. Day after day, month after month, year after year. After several years, man, you're going to be a changed man. You want to know how to be tough. You want to know how to take a hit. You know, look at the toughest guy around you. Okay? Do double what he does. Do it consistently, year after year after year. That's how you make yourself exceptional. Okay? What else did I recommend? Box. Yeah, actually spend time hitting, and it's more important, throw hits at something else. And one of my old coaches, he told a story about something that his coach told him, and I loved it. They were talking about jiu-jitsu, and a lot of jiu-jitsu guys saying, oh, it's too dangerous to train takedowns, so we start on our knees. That's garbage. And my old coach said, well, my coach told me, take your opponent down first. Slam him on the ground first. That way you don't get hurt. Yeah, so your defense won't be perfect, so make sure it's aggressive defense. You know, like Jack Dempsey taught in his fantastic book, which you should read. Championship Fighting, Explosive Punching, and Aggressive Defense. Right? Defense isn't just keeping your guard up and parrying punches. It's hitting the other guy before he hits you. That's the best kind of defense. Right? So make yourself physically tough. Practice aggressive defense. And spar safe. Protect this brain. Protect this house, guys. It's the only one you ever get. Thank you for watching. If you have questions, leave them in the comments down below. Now get out there and train.